People will look at Josh Jacobs' 2022 season and say, oh, that's an outlier. But is it?
You are Locked On Packers, your daily Green Bay Packers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Packers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Peter Bukowski, and I cover the Packers for The Leap, a newsletter I would love for you to subscribe to. Follow me on Twitter, Peter_Bukowski. Follow the podcast on Twitter, Locked On Packers. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to the podcast, iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts. Wherever you find podcasts, you will find Locked On Packers, the #1 Packers podcast on the internet, and the show for fans who know what happened. They want to know why and how. Thanks to everyone who makes Locked On Packers their first listen every day. We hope you like starting your day with us as much as we like starting our day with you. Today's episode brought to you by our friends at Game Time. Download the Game Time app today. Create an account and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. There is reasonable skepticism about why Josh Jacobs was so good in 2022 and not nearly as good in 2023, 2021, or 2020. And one of the cases I often hear is, oh, it was the explosive runs. He had more explosive runs, an unsustainable amount of explosive runs. That's not actually true. 2022 actually looked almost identical in a lot of the underlying metrics to 2019, his rookie season, his second best season as a pro. As a rookie, Josh Jacobs averaged 4.8 yards per attempt. In 2022, he averaged 4.9 yards per attempt. As a rookie, he had 16 runs of 15 plus. 2022, he had 15 runs of 15 plus. As a rookie, he averaged 3.8 yards after contact per attempt. In 2022, he averaged 3.4 yards after contact per attempt. That's the same. The big difference was really just how many carries Josh Jacobs got. He just got more work in 2022. He was really, really good as a rookie to the point that I had to take the L on it because I was not a pre-draft Josh Jacobs hype guy. And 2019, when he was a rookie, that was Derek Carr, arguably Derek Carr's best season. Career high in completion percentage. You've got John Gruden and Mike Mayock. They're the new brain trust. They come in. The offense is working. Now, in 2022, Josh Jacobs did have an outlier for him in 10-plus yard runs. But it wasn't like he got lucky with a handful, instead of breaking 4 runs that could have been 40 plus yards, he just got lucky on 4 plays. Someone slipped, and instead of 4, he got 10 or he got 8. And all of a sudden, that's an extra 160, 200, 250. And now you lead the league in rushing versus being second, third, fourth, fifth. It wasn't like that. It was these 10-yard runs, and clearly between 10 and 15 because he didn't have some crazy 15-plus yard explosive bonanza. He just ripped off chunks, just not huge chunks, more effectively in 2022 than in other seasons. And the reason I bring this up now is because of the proximity to 2019, the functioning of that offense. This is going to be the best offense Josh Jacobs has played in. This is going to be the best offensive line Josh Jacobs has played behind, probably since 2019. This is going to be the best quarterback Josh Jacobs has played with. Now, it's not going to be the best, receiver because he played with Devontae Adams. But that impacts him probably the least of all of the positions that he's playing with. This is the best play caller he will have played with. And this is the best stable, the best collection of running backs that he will have played with. He's not going to have to do everything. So the things that he's going to be asked to do, that means he will be fresher in order to do them. We have not talked a lot about Josh Jacobs on this show since free agency. And one of the reasons is I think it's just obvious that he's going to be good if he stays healthy in this offense. This is not an elite run blocking group, or at least it wasn't last year. It was an elite pass blocking group. Now you add Sean Ryan, he can move bodies. He can move bodies in the run game versus John Runyon Jr. Can he hold up? We'll see. We're going to talk about this offensive line more in a little bit. Jordan Love getting you in and out of the right plays. That's a big deal. Is he, materially better than Derek Carr? I don't know. I have not studied Derek Carr enough to have a really strong take on that. And it's a small sample size with Jordan Love, but this offense makes it pretty easy. And we see regularly, and Matt LaFleur has said he thinks Jordan has consistently gotten them into the right looks on, when it's an RPO, when it's a can call, and you get to the second play, that he has been effective doing that. And to my eye, watching the Packers tape, at least, he has been. That sets Josh Jacobs up to succeed. And when you think of, okay, he's got Josh Jacobs to take the burden of some of the between the tackles running off his plate. He can do it, but he's not the only one who can do it. In a lot of these running back rooms in Vegas, they've got some other jitterbug dude in there. So the only guy that they have who can run between the tackles is Josh Jacobs. Well, that's not true. Now, Josh Jacobs, an effective receiver, can play split out, can do some creative things with him there. But Marshawn Lloyd is so dynamic with the ball in his hand. In the screen game, in the jet sweep game, you can do some different things with Marshawn Lloyd. You're not going to ask Josh Jacobs to have to shoulder that third down back burden all the time. And so while Josh Jacobs has had some of the same issues that Aaron Jones has had staying healthy, he has always been the true workhorse running back. When he's out there, even if he's only playing 13 or 14 games, he's getting 16, 18, 20, 22, 24 carries all the time. Now, I don't know if Matt LaFleur is wired to do that with anybody, but it wouldn't surprise me if they were like, hey, it really would be nice to have a guy that if we wanted to do that regularly, we could. And then you have the depth with the other guys that make it easier to do that. My intuition with 2022, when I first started looking at it, was that just kind of got lucky probably. But the more I looked at it, the more I went back and watched, the more I realized, no. And actually, there was a play at minicamp yesterday where Josh Jacobs, he hit a seam and was gone. Something like a 60-yard touchdown run. And it's minicamp. Our pal Jake Lisco from Locked On Bengals pointed out that come on, there's no hitting, there's no tackling, there's no pads. This is fake football. But if there's no one there, there's no one there. And even Eric Stokes couldn't catch him. And so then I was like, okay, wait, what if he is explosive? And is this explosive question really relevant? And what I wanted to go and see was, okay, well, is this offense going to give him the chance to create explosives? And what I ultimately found was it doesn't matter, because that wasn't a thing. That criticism, that premise of, oh, well, he got a little bit lucky with some no, that's not really what happened. And he's actually set up as well as he's ever been in his career to get those same opportunities to create 10-plus yard runs. Think of how many opportunities Aaron Jones had last year to just hit the crease and go because it's two high safeties. They're worrying about Jordan Love throwing over the top. And that's the other thing. Stylistically, Derek Carr, he did not want to push the ball the same way that Jordan Love wants to push the ball. So teams could stack the box more often against the Raiders. Aaron Jones consistently in his career has seen among the fewest heavy boxes in football. If Josh Jacobs gets all those light boxes, he's going to eat them up too. And one of the reasons is he's got an offensive lineman that the Packers took in the first round that they can play anywhere. And they are already. We're going to talk about Jordan Morgan next. Today's episode brought to you by our friends at Game Time. Last minute seats. Oh, shoot, that concert's tonight. Oh, I love that stand-up comedian. You're driving along and you see, the marquee. I would love to go to that show. Is it sold out? No. Where can I get tickets? Am I going to get gouged on tickets? Not at Game Time. Save up to 60% buying last minute seats for sports, comedy, concerts, theater, and a lot more. All-in pricing allows you to see the total up front with no surprise fees at checkout. Plus, with views from the seat, you know what you're getting when you buy it. Get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets. The lowest price guaranteed. Jordan Morgan has me rethinking this idea of positional value with offensive linemen. And speaking of rethinking things, are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Have to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I have always believed guards are less valuable than tackles, centers less valuable than guards. And while I still think in a vacuum that is true, Jordan Morgan has me thinking about this a little differently. And when we went through the pre-draft process, everydayers will remember the discussions we had about the Packers and the reason they have certain types, and Brian Gutekunst confirmed this, that they like the flexibility to play multiple positions. And Ross Uglum, our buddy, came up with this idea that you can fail into playing guard as a tackle. Oh, you don't have the feet to play tackle. You can always play guard. There is even more value in a guard that can play tackle in a pinch than just a regular guard. If you're a guard only, that's less valuable. Just intuitively, right? Like this is not like groundbreaking. But then I thought, okay, Jordan Morgan has played left tackle, he's played right tackle, he's played left guard, he's played right guard, and it's June 12th. From rookie camp to OTAs to now mandatory minicamp, he has played everywhere but center for the Packers. You are a problem solver at that point. You got a problem. And the offensive line is a weak link system. You are only as good as your worst player on the offensive line. And so if you are a Jordan Morgan and you can plug a hole, you can fill in where there is a disparity in talent between Elton Jenkins and, let's say, Josh Myers. And Elton Jenkins, they go, yep, Elton Jenkins can move to center because here comes Jordan Morgan. Or Zach Tom can move to center because here comes Jordan Morgan. Or Sean Ryan can move to center because here comes Jordan Morgan. Or Rasheed Walker can move to right tackle and Zach Tom can move to center because here comes Jordan Morgan. There is so much added value to a player who can do that. And it's something that is so obvious to me now. But you don't really think about because most players aren't treated that way. Most players aren't given the opportunity to do that. And the Packers have been doing this from time immemorial. And go back, they drafted Derek Sherrod to play tackle, but he started as a guard. Josh Sitton, college tackle, they played him at guard, but he played tackle at times for the Packers. There was a game a couple years ago, probably longer than that now, but I'm old, where they played, I believe it was the Bears. It was certainly a primetime game. I think it was Thursday night. It might have been Sunday night. And they played They did not have a starting tackle play, like a preferred tackle. It was all interior offensive linemen. It was like Lane Taylor played tackle, and it was just like one of those games where they just had to have everyone play out of position because they were just so banged up. And the Packers can do it because they draft players who are designed specifically, or the design of the pick is that these players can do this. And so, yes, a tackle is more valuable than a guard. But a guard who can play anywhere may be more valuable than the tackle, even if we're talking about a similar caliber of player. Like even if they had to play right tackle worse than that right tackle, but they could also play left tackle at that same level, or they could also play left guard at that same level. There is incredible added value to that ability. And Jordan Morgan, the fact that they're already asking him to do this means they believe he can do it, and it means he's handling it, more importantly. Because if you go out there in rookie camp and they're going, okay, you're left guard, left tackle, we're going to let you stay on the left side. And that was not working out. Okay, he's maybe just a left tackle for now. They wouldn't say, let's try you at right tackle. Or if it's working out at left tackle, right tackle, or not working out at left tackle, right tackle, like, oh, well, he's kind of struggling with this right side stuff. Let's keep him on the left side. No, not only is he fine on the right side and working with the starters with Zach Tom out in some of the lineups there, how's right guard? So now you've played all of the positions. And it's clear that they believe he can handle all of this. And this is very reminiscent of Elgton Jenkins. He, it turns out, is a Pro Bowl caliber guard. We thought he could be more. We thought he could be a tackle. I thought he could be a really good tackle. Maybe pre-ACL, he could have been. The injury, I don't know if it sapped some athleticism, some burst. Maybe if you asked him to do it today, he could do it. But the fact that he's played center, he's played guard, he's played tackle. There was a time when I was saying, before he hurt himself, that he was the most versatile quality offensive lineman in the league. You just don't usually, like the guys who do that, it's like switch hitters in baseball. Rarely is a switch hitter a 330 hitter from one side. Because if you were a 330 hitter from one side, you wouldn't switch sides. They're usually like 240 right-handed hitters and like 210 left-handed hitters. Because most of the switch hitters are not everyday players, and you know, some of these things change and grow and evolve, but they're usually utility bench players. It's your Lucas Patricks. Oh, he's a guard center. He can play tackle in a pinch. It's your Lane Taylors. He's a guard, but you can kick him out to tackle if you needed to. But Elgton Jenkins was a Pro Bowl guard. He played at a Pro Bowl caliber when he was playing center. And in the little action he saw pre-ACL at tackle, he was a Pro Bowl caliber player. We saw limited action, but he looked like, hey, this guy, I was saying maybe the move is he's your future right tackle. Maybe the move is he's your future left tackle. And then it just didn't go great coming off the injury. Again, maybe if he needed to do it today, he would look much better. But he could still do it in a pinch. It looks like he's gonna get the chance to compete at center. If they feel comfortable with Jordan Morgan at left guard, you slide Elgton Jenkins to center. He's already getting paid, so it's fine. And this question of positional value in the first round, you go, okay, well, it's not ideal to take a guard in the first round. I do think at the end of the first round, it starts to become a thing where you can justify it. But also, if you take a guard who is going to compete to play at left tackle, and Rasheed Walker is just that good, and could complete to play at right tackle, but Zach Tom is just that good. And by the way, those two guys at the end of last season were just that good. Like they were going to beat the 49ers if Zach Tom doesn't get injured in the divisional round. Like Nick Bosa took that game over when Zach Tom got hurt. Like the whole game changed. So now, okay, they can get better at center with Elgton Jenkins because I think Elgton Jenkins would be a significant upgrade at center. and you don't lose, like let's say you don't lose a ton, like he's a quality starter day one, that is a hugely impactful move for the Packers. And so I do think we have to, and I'm including, when I say we, I really mean we. Sometimes when I say we, I don't really mean we. I sort of mean like the collective. Oh, everyone needs to stop and think about this thing that I've obviously thought about because that's why I'm saying it. No, this is I am including myself here. I need to check my own biases, my own preconceived notions about value, and say, look, if a player can capably play multiple spots and isn't well, I don't know if he's a tackle or a guard, like a tweener. Like I thought Jordan Morgan was a guard. But if he's credibly playing tackle, and by the way, we'll see when the pads come on, then that's, even if he's not an elite tackle, he's just like a fine passable in a pinch tackle. That has more value than if he's just a guard or just a center. And I want to be more aware of building in that value. This is why the Packers do it the way that they do it. And oh my gosh, the Packers are the best at this for a reason. The vibes in Green Bay right now, pretty immaculate. Let's talk about it next on Locked On Packers. Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and now it's also available on Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today, now available on the free Fire TV channels app. Yesterday, we did the Jeff Hafley is willing to challenge Matt LaFleur story. Great for the culture. Then yesterday at minicamp, we got two news stories that Matt LaFleur had given a number of veterans, Jair Alexander, Xavier McKinney, and some others, the mandatory, it's right there in the name, minicamp off because they were at OTAs, they had met their quota for their bonuses, and whether it was a goodwill thing, whether it was a let's save the legs thing, these are veteran players, we're going to need these guys later, whether it's a combination of both, that is a coach understanding his team and understanding the value of creating goodwill with your players. Hey, you guys, why don't you take a break? You're doing great. You're stalwarts on the team. Like, no one is worried about Jair Alexander's spot. Xavier McKinney, we want to see Javon Bullard and Evan Williams bottled and bond. Like, we want to see these guys play. So just like take a breather. We want to see Kalen King. We want to see Carrington Valentine, who, by the way, balled out yesterday. But that's not it. But wait, there's more. We also found out that to date, Matt LaFleur has not called an offensive play. Has not called an offensive play. Not because he's not going to be the play caller. He is. He's basically said, I'm never giving that up. No way. There was a point last year or the season before where he was like, yeah, if I thought it was the best thing for the team, I would do that, but I don't, so I'm not gonna. But now he's like, no, this is mine. I'm really good at this. I'm glad coach is feeling himself because he should be. But Jordan Love has been calling plays. Adam Stenavich has been calling plays. And those are two important pieces because Adam Stenavich is being groomed as a future offensive coordinator, play caller, head coach. Aaron Rodgers a couple years ago said he thought Steno was a future head coach, but he's never called plays. It also potentially makes him a better coach to Matt LaFleur if he's got reps doing the thing that Matt LaFleur is doing that Steno has never done. There's value there in understanding what that feels like, how it works, the cadence, the rhythm, all that stuff. You can experience it secondhand, but it's different when you do it. And then the Jordan Love part. This is year two. I mean, I understand he's been in the league now since 2020, but year two as a starter. And they're like, yeah, go out there, call the plays. Like, not just call, like, of course he's calling the plays, but usually it goes in the headset and he's doing it. It sounds like the way that it was presented to us is that, no, he's deciding what the play is. And that means a mastery of the playbook. That means a trust of the coaches to understand what needs to get done in what circumstances. And it is belief in him that in a practice setting, because practice settings, you might call a practice different than you call a game, that in a practice setting, you understand that you can't just call the same plays, you can't just throw the same guys. It's called practice for a reason. You got to rep certain things. You want to make sure that you have a breadth of knowledge and experience and skill that is born out of the repetition of practice. That's the whole point of practice. This is a crucial step in the evolution of Jordan Love, the leader, but Jordan Love, the quarterback. Jordan Love, the thinker of the quarterback position. This is really cool. This is Matt LaFleur in his bag. And we have spent a lot of time talking about the quality of a coach that Matt LaFleur is. And I have been singing his praises since 2019. The work that he did, I think people didn't realize in 2018 how toxic it had gotten. I think they were quick to push away the stories that were written about it because a lot of it was negative on Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers was still in the building, and you still needed Aaron Rodgers if you were a Packer fan to chase Super Bowls. And he was the best player that had played in Green Bay in, 20 years. But the same thing is true post 2022. Post Aaron Rodgers. The Matt LaFleur had to get this reset. And now, new team, you bring in some veterans, you got a chance to win this again. And he's still taking new opportunities, new chances, willing to change. You add a video board at practice so you can immediately go back and look at what you're doing. This has been a trend around the league the last couple of years. Teams are doing this to push it and grow and evolve and take some risks. Say, I'm not going to call plays. I'm one of the best play callers in the league. I don't have to do this. It might backfire. He might feel rusty week one. I doubt it. Probably going to call plays in training camp. But through the offseason process, to give these other guys these reps, Jordan Love especially, that is a huge vote of confidence from your coach to your quarterback. And I think it's a signal to us to say, hey, Jordan Love might actually be at a different level this year because his cognition with the game is just even better. That's a pretty cool thought. If you're a Packer fan, a Packers coach, a Packers player. And it's a pretty tough. If you're a Bears fan, if you're a Vikings fan, if you're a Lions fan, if you're a Eagles fan, Cowboys fan, 49ers fan. Jordan Love's going to be even better this year? Dang it. All right, back tomorrow. Much more here on Locked On Packers as we get you set for training camp. That's what we're working toward. About 6 weeks away from it. A lot to get to before then. Follow me on Twitter, Peter_Bukowski. Follow the podcast on all the social medias. Locked On Packers. Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. And of course, subscribe. Wherever you get podcasts, subscribe on YouTube so you can stay Locked On Packers.